Hi everyone, good afternoon, good morning if you are in a different part of the world from Asia, India. But for this region, it's good afternoon, and it's another 0 to 1 event today. And as you know, 0 to 1 runs on both Wednesdays and Thursdays every week. On Wednesdays, we touch on topics that are relevant globally. And on Thursdays, of course, we touch topics that are relevant globally too, but we also find some relevance or commonality or connection to India or South Asia as well. And today happens to be one of those sessions, a 0 to 1 on Thursday, and we have a speaker from India, from a global company, and he has expertise not only in India, globally, as the company is global, and his experience is also regional and global. And we are glad to have Bedabrata Bagchi. I hope I pronounced that right, Beda.
Yep, that's
Uh,
yeah.
and Beda works for DigitalOcean. I'll let Beda introduce himself as well as the company. He's a senior regional marketing manager at DigitalOcean. I've worked with Beda for quite some time now. We know each other professionally and personally, and have always enjoyed working with Beda as a partner, but also as a friend, having chats on different things in life. Beda, thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much, Isas, for having me. I've been following the webinar for quite some time. I think this in itself is a example of what community can do for a particular brand, right? And so, just a quick introduction about me. My name is Bedabrata, Beda for short, and I lead regional marketing for Asia Pacific here at DigitalOcean, and I'm also actively involved in leading the Wavemaker program, which is our community initiative by DigitalOcean as well.
Sure. And Beda, the topic that you chose for this, and with input from us and our community team as well, was community equals growth engine.
Absolutely.
Maybe we explain what that means and start from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about community, right, there are quite a few angles that you can look at it. Some folks talk about digital community, some folks talk about the in-person community, and some folks talk about user groups, right? But if you really go to look at it, and let's talk about the in-person, let's talk about the real engagement here, right? Community is something that creates your ICP in real time, right? Where members are able to self-select by showing up, and you kind of see patterns on who's most engaged, how they're engaged, right? And this is something that is prevalent and common, not just like in the tech world, but in general marketing as a concept as well, right? It drives adoption through what I would define as peer problem solving, right? Users trust each other much more than ads. So if there is a recurring occurrence of users at a particular place and the problems that they are talking about, how they are solving it, you find yourself having an opportunity as a brand to be literally a part of that conversation, right? And that's ideally what a marketer's dream is, right? I want to be a part of conversation. DigitalOcean wants to be a part of conversation where real building is happening, real growth is happening. And I think that is kind of the crux of how community acts as a growth engine, right? There are a lot of topics to it, there are a lot of points to it, but this is developing the ICP in real time, watching it develop in real time is something that is really, really critical.
And But I guess the community, the members, their demographics,
Hmm.
etc., probably change depending on the type of company, right? Like
Yes.
a community that works for a certain type of company or certain type of product may not work for another company that has a different type of product, right? Maybe we talk about how to find the right community or how to define the right community so that our founders and our freelancers, especially founders in this context, know how to go about defining what community I need to build.
Yes, yes. I mean, let's talk about first the common mistakes, right? One of the common mistakes of this particular point is that community is not a broadcast channel, right? It's not that way. Like that is somewhere like, there is a lot of erroneous decisions that you can see. It's not a broadcast channel. It's not a send all marketing and model, but it's more of a two-way conversation. And when I say two-way conversation, like I highlighted before, when you see a use case being formed, being present in that instance is it's everything, right? And that is one aspect of it. The second is that anybody can start it. It's about talking to people like you and I are talking today. Let's say similar conversation happens with 20 people. It starts off with that. It starts off with 30 people. It's a partner comes along, along the journey. A local partner or an ecosystem partner comes along. That creates kind of like a clear purpose and a value proposition. So value proposition is now 2x. Now, rinse and repeat this process 3x, 4x, 5x over a period of a month, a year. Time and consistency is what it takes. And then at the end of the year, you will see what I would like to define only as a compounding effect, right? You will see that every quarter, if you are a founder, every quarter you will find a laundry list of issues that people are actually talking about. You don't need to justify then like why am I making this product, where is this coming from, right? And I'm not saying that a community is like a focus group. It is like a focus group, yes, but it is also a way of finding where your product fits in their lives, right? So while a founder, a team might have an assumption, hey, this is my product, this is where I'm being useful, but in the real time, if you put like 20 customers in the room and you talk to them, not about how do you use my product, but what is the problem that you are solving, right? And your product market fit kind of just will pop out right in front of you. And the second part of this conversation is that community can be engaged in a multitude of ways. It doesn't have to necessarily be one thing. Um, for a tech company, Discord is a level of community, right? The conversations that happen, that is one. The second is the developer meetups like the ones that DigitalOcean does. And an interesting thing about it is the topic and the interest level vary from region to region. We'll cover that. And of course, there is our Sale to Success webinars, which is something that our product marketing team runs diligently. And that is something that has seen the compounding effect, that has seen users come in with real problems like, hey, I am facing this issue. Do you have any suggestions for me? Um, I'm facing this particular problem last month. Let's say I faced a high workload issue. I faced an outage. What am I supposed to do now? Here you are in a room with experts, and the questions are coming to you. And that's the dream scenario. And that's the power of community that kind of drives it, makes it the growth engine that we are talking about.
A bit, maybe it's a good time to introduce sorry, I said dual circle, but DigitalOcean. By the way, we also happen to have the same kind of initials. Dual
Yeah,
circle goes as do in short,
yeah, yeah,
and then DigitalOcean uses DO. I also confuse sometimes and say the dual circle when I actually mean DigitalOcean. Where good opportunity, I guess, or a point to introduce one DigitalOcean, but then
Yeah.
your Wavemaker program, because my previous question was like, how do you define the right community and build the right community right? In that sense, if we can make this practical by explaining your company and why you built Wavemaker and the features of that, I think it will
Yes.
be easier for our audience to then kind of understand, okay, what's the connection that I need to look for
Absolutely.
when I build a community?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, DigitalOcean is a cloud company, right? At the crux of it, right? We are at the cusp of AI ML. So, if you are a digital native enterprise, or in today's world, if you are an AI native enterprise, you will need certain infrastructure to produce your product, to develop your product, fine tune it, and finally deploy it. So that is something where DigitalOcean comes into the picture. As a brand, we are known for two things. One is we are known for our simplicity, right? You don't like, if you look at the usage of DigitalOcean as a cloud platform, the simplicity is really going to stand out. And I don't just mean from a user interface point of view, but the deployment journey is really simple, right? The second thing is transparency, right? DigitalOcean has always won, customers, partners, and got general uh, user sentiment benefits out of this, because when somebody comes to this as a platform, they expect like complex structures to be there, like different layers, like invisible pricing models and stuff like that. But DigitalOcean is pretty much straightforward. You pay what you use, and you are able to see exactly what you're paying. There's no layers to it, right? Now, with this thought in mind, we wanted to create, and as a company, right? If you look at the history of DigitalOcean, one of the most powerful levers that we have as a brand is our content. When it comes to tutorials, when it comes to articles, content pieces which help developer build more efficiently. So if there is a um, uh, new element in the market when it comes to software development or product development, and now building AI native enterprises, our advocacy team and our content team produces content which is really relevant at that point in time and really helps users adopt that in their respective businesses, right? With that thought, we started the Wavemaker program. Why with that thought? The reason I said with that thought is because we wanted to increase the presence of advocacy there, right? There are folks engaging with your content. Yes, there are folks engaging with your talks. But if you are able to carry that to a location where you're sitting with 20 people, 50 people and talking about it, that really amplifies it. It's, how would you say, it's a heat map of its own accord, right? Um, and the way I would advise people to look at it is that, let's say you are running ads at a particular location. You create a cluster, you deploy a particular ad, and it's performing at an X metrics. Now you would have the question that how do I increase this engagement? And the answer would always be you need organic queries. Okay, how do I get organic queries? You will publish content, yes, stuff like that. But if you look at a community meetup happening, a partnership at an event happening, it will organically increase your word of mouth. To an extent, it will increase your searchability, and that in turn benefits you as a brand, right? So that's kind of the first part of the answer here. And the second part I wanted to say, I also noticed a question come in over here, is that what is the success metrics for a community, right? So that's kind of a part of my answer. Now,
Right, right.
yeah.
So, do you want to expand further on success metrics, or
Yes.
if you want to talk a bit more, we have time as well, better.
Yes, yes. So it's kind of the answer to the previous question and this as well. So if you look at
Mm.
success metrics, here the objective is to track engagement health, right?
Right,
When we talk about engagement health, we are talking about retention, we are talking about active participation, and we are talking about contributions. Contribution is really, really important because otherwise it really becomes a one-sided communication. And contribution can only happen when session A listens to the feedback and comes with answers in session B, listens to the feedback, comes back with answers in session C. And thereby, I want to reiterate the compounding effect over there. And how we measure advocacy is primarily through the referrals that come in, through the user-generated content that comes over here, and most importantly, the issues that get talked about, period. Period. You will see that when we do 3, 4, 5, 6, by the end of it, the questions become super specific. And that's something that we want, right? Because we want to be the problem solvers over there. So think of it as reputation plus revenue plus resilience. These will be your primary metrics.
Beta, because we have lots of small companies, early stage startups, either listening here or when this goes online, people would access this content. So I want to simplify the form of community a bit more. I think what's most familiar for people is WhatsApp groups, right? Get a community who are kind of relevant on WhatsApp groups, and now it's also WhatsApp communities, so you can have multiple groups within a community. But then I've also seen some tech companies have slightly different platforms. Slack is used sometimes. So and then it's all digital, either on your mobile or on your laptop. You connect with these communities, right? And then some tend to do offline events, and that's also a community. If you actually meet every month, you're also building a community in a different form. So
Yeah.
with your experience from Wavemaker, as well as from your industry experience, Veda, shall we talk about these different forms and what your kind of view is on the success, what actually works? Obviously, it depends on the metrics that you are after as well.
Correct.
So maybe we connect the metrics, engagement health in your words,
Yes.
against some of these different forms that are available.
Okay. Yeah. So when you say forms, you mean like platforms, right? Like what
Yeah,
platform?
platforms. Yeah, in
Yeah.
what way are we gathering the community around? Right? Is it a WhatsApp group? Is it a Slack group? Is it a Telegram group? Is it a Facebook group, or is it a offline group that meets every month, etc.
Okay. Okay. So the first thing I would say in that scenario is that is one of the first point you mentioned also actually. It differs from the demographics and the psychographics that you are targeting, right? Uh, but my suggestion is yes, of course, start small. It could be a WhatsApp group, a Slack group, or it could even be a monthly meetup, right? Um, don't have the thought that I'm going to do this one particular thing and my ROI is going to double. I think that's the most important point. I know we've chatted about this in the past as well, but instead, suggestion here would be whether it's a group or a channel, a meetup, a newsletter, start by one particular use case, where a pain point becomes easier, where an identified pain point. And how do you identify, right? Let's say you're a small startup, you have 10 customers, right? If you are able to identify one particular issue between those 10 customers, then you have like a starting point. You don't need to boil the ocean immediately, right? The second step over here is that have clear call to actions after that, right? Whether it's a review of it, whether it's the questions of it, because like I was saying, in order to get the compounding effect, you have to keep asking questions as a brand. It can be on any particular model. The second thing to do is once this particular model is deployed in one particular place, it can be adapted to different regions. Okay. The objective is not to be like, okay, I'll get it to 200 and then I'll go to a second location only if I cross 200, right? That's kind of redundant. It can be possible, it's possible that one region can have 10, one can have 5, and one can have 500, because different hubs have different problems, and different problems have different speed of resolution at that point in time, right? But the most important thing when you are talking about scaling is to find, always find and have a local champion. That's kind of what the Wavemaker program is about as well, right? Empowering you know, engineers and developers in particular region to become a voice in the community, right? And that's what a Wavemaker candidate is, whether it's in New York or in Denver or in India, or you know, we're talking about Hyderabad, Bangalore, all the hubs. We have somebody of immense local voice in that particular region, who is talking to these, not users, but who is talking to these community members. And once you have these, then you can go to a platform like meetup.com or and create a particular chapter. And then that chapter becomes your call to action. And rinse and repeat this after a few points, you will start seeing a recurring audience come up to your meetup chapters. If you, there are various platform, of course, platform is an example, but the point over here is the I would like to highlight is the compounding effect. As long as they are able to drive education, belonging, recognition out of this to an extent as a user, whatever platform you're doing is going to have a success.
Beda, I have a question in the Q&A channel. I also had this question in my mind to ask. The question is, would people misunderstand it for a marketing channel? As in community, would community be misunderstood as a
Hmm.
marketing channel for the company, right? I had a slightly different word in my mind, whether people would read this as a sales channel.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I guess if we talk about ROIs, companies would invest in certain things expecting a certain ROI. So community is an investment, right? So I guess it's the balance. I believe yes, it's expected to kind of contribute towards marketing and obviously sales, but then you don't do it with that as the headline, right? You do it because you want
Absolutely.
to contribute towards community. I guess I asked the question and I also answered, but I wanted your take on it, just to make sure that we kind of talk about how to do it right, so we actually contribute, and it's not perceived as a sales and marketing thing, or sales or marketing.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Like this is a point I highlighted in the beginning also. Like it cannot be that. And if I were to just differentiate, right? A marketing channel is where you're pushing messages to an audience. It's a kind of a one-way communication. Of course, there's feedback loops, but there's still a one-way communication. Community is not, I wouldn't say that like it's a push and pull, but it's more like people are pulling each other in. They are co-creating, they are staying engaged when you are not talking, basically. That's the difference, right? Not just a one way or a two-way communication, but here, even in our absence, the community is kind of developing itself. um, like an example, right? Let's say you as a company are solving one particular pain point and you have a Discord channel, and you have done consistently, you have done put in your efforts into building the community. Let's say you have 200, 300, 500 members now. If you have engaged them properly in a recurring manner, then after a point of time, if somebody posts a question, somebody will answer something. There would be a dialogue present, right? So imagine, look at it yourself, like you are the host, right? But that doesn't mean you're a host of a party. That doesn't mean like you will talk to everybody. People will talk to each other as well, right? That's kind of the point over here. And that is how it differentiates from marketing and a sales pitch to an extent.
One question I also had in my mind, it's slightly different angle, but connects back to the engagement health.
Yeah.
In some communities, you may see a lot of buzz, right? There's those conversations that you mentioned taking place. There's hype, but whether it's real engagement that the community owner intended to have is a different question, right? So if we can talk about like a buzz hype versus real engagement, maybe that might also help our audience.
Okay. So basically, like what you're saying is, what is buzz versus engagement in this particular scenario, right? Okay. So, if we look at the word buzz, right, like what is buzz? Buzz is noise, excitement, activity. Like it's very on the surface. There are hashtags trending. There are lots of people at the event. Numbers are going up. There are memes in a chat. It looks alive, right? But when we talk about real engagement, we are talking about depth, right? What is the depth of participation? What is the depth of kind of, I would say, sustained interactions, right? For example, if there is an engagement happening where members are answering each other's questions, somebody's contributing like with like a tutorial, they're co-creating with the team. Let's say people come in the particular meetup and saying like, you know what, let's build something together and let's try this out, let's try this product. I'm facing this issue, how do you solve it? Somebody comes in and says, hey, I faced this issue in my organization as well, this is what we did. Starts a conversation. The relevancy of the conversation and the depth of the conversation is close to the conversation you want to be a part of, right? That is what I would define as the difference between buzz versus real engagement. But I would also like to double down on the compounding effect here as well, because if you are chasing buzz, right, you will get it, but you will not see it compound, because then the compounding effect will be based on buzz. But if you are okay with your session not having 100 people from the get-go, but the 20 people who are there, they are having conversations that they are actually there, they're actually present, right? And they're having conversations with each other, not just one-way stuff. When that compounds, when that 20 becomes 40, it might take some time, it might take some effort, but when that becomes 40, your relevancy is intact, right? And that is something that really helps scale such programs.
One other question that just came through, and I think it really well relates to what you were talking about, is the next phase, right? Can we sustain that community over a longer period of time? You kind of follow your guidance to make it real engagement. It's not just a short-term buzz or a meaningless buzz, if I were to use that word,
Yeah.
but you try to make it more meaningful and real engagement. But can you also sustain, and if we are to give some tips, what would they be in terms of sustaining a community over few
Yeah,
years at least? Yeah, because things tend to die off.
absolutely, absolutely. My thought on that would be yes, communities can sustain only if they evolve, right? So communities that kind of remain relevant, they don't stay stuck in one particular format. Like for example, this one particular Discord channel, one particular Slack group that's been running for 2 years. They've been talking about the same thing for 2 years. Uh, Maybe it could work, but chances are a little slim, right? But versus a channel that grows with member needs, right? So if they see that the members are particularly talking about one particular topic and there is effort put in to go into depth of that topic, if there are mentorship opportunities, if there is co-creation opportunities, if there is role for advocacy in that particular conversation, yes, communities can not only survive but they can thrive. One thing that I have learned is that community does not survive if it is treated as a campaign, right? So if a community is kind of built only for a launch, only for certain vanity metrics, it is literally custom curated and set up for failure, right? So initial energy always phased, but if it is treated like a campaign, no. But if it is seen as an ecosystem that is evolving and thriving, not just with your contribution, but apart from it, yes, it is definitely possible. But another point to highlight in this would definitely be shared ownership, right? When we talk about like a strongest community, the strongest community is one that can run without you being at its center, right? Members create, members lead, and they even course correct each other. So initially you will select the topics, but if your community is really qualitative, right? After a point of time, your community will tell you what exactly is the pain point and what they want to talk about. As long as that gets addressed and the communities evolve, channels evolve, yes, 100% possible.
And that pain point discussion or discussion on multiple pain points, can that also be product feedback for the company?
Yes, yes. The pain point can, of course, it's always product feedback, right? You can look at it as almost like the deliverables of a focus group, right? But a focus group in its natural environment. So that's even better. And not just for product, but also for discovery, right? For example, you're running a company, you're a solutions provider, and you have certain core competency and value proposition for your company. After developing this, you can also discover you and you give, let's say, product A and product B. But in this discussion, you find out that, hey, I can make product C and D as well, and these people clearly need it, right? Um, and I remember like this is something we were chatting before as well. Right now, how the ecosystem is changing, we are just in the cusp of another disruption, right? At a point in time, everybody wanted a website, right? Right now, everybody wants their own LLM model. Everybody wants GPUs to scale. Every company is getting into that, and that's the next phase. So now requirements will evolve, and communities that talk about the pain points, not just of tomorrow, but hey, if you're building this, you will probably face this issue that I faced. Okay, now you have my interest. Newsletter open, Slack channel clicked on, WhatsApp group clicked on.
Right.
That's
Right.
something. Yeah.
Right. One word that you used early on in the discussion, Beda, is ICP, ideal customer profile, right?
Yeah.
I guess some of this feedback on products itself or proposals for products, even new tools, new products, might also define who your ideal customer is as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So when you look at how does the community kind of define
Mm.
your ICP? I guess the first thing that I would say that these are not then just personas, right? These are real people. Traditional ICPs, they kind of aggregate to an extent.
Yeah,
So you are seeing the end result. So in this particular scenario, you are seeing the ICP form right in front of you. That's the term that I use. Like you can be in the room when the ICP forms, right?
right.
And if you listen to it, if you really listen to the pulse of the community, you will get certain recurring questions which are for you as a founder. These are signals, right? These are signals of feature requests. These are complaints, particular that you might not know about, and also you get an idea of who cares enough to engage. So here it's not like the old ICP model of age, role, company size, the demographics, but this is more of like the psychographics. Who are the early adopters? What do the early adopters consider their North Star? How can I help them reach their North Star? Am I even a part of that particular conversation? Or am I a product that folks don't talk about when they talk about reaching their North Star goals, right? And the other thing about ICP, again highlighting a little bit more on psychographics, is the regional nuances, right? It could be about variations in your product. It could be tweaking your affordability factor a little bit more. It could also be like the price point changes that help you scale. So, for example, price X helps you scale if you are in the US. But if you're scaling in Singapore, you need price Y. If you are scaling in India, you need price X. So how do you factor that in?
Right. I actually have a question that a founder posed some time back when we were having a conversation about go-to-market strategies for his business. This idea of a WhatsApp group came. And I guess it's a very basic version of community that we were talking for a very, very early stage startup. And one question the founder asked is, what if competitors also come in to the WhatsApp group, right? Because the idea is quite innovative, it's new, but you also want to increase the awareness about the idea, the product. Product was quite early stage at that point.
Yeah.
Is this a concern? I mean, competitors are also kind of sneaking in because you can't really verify everyone, right? And if someone's honestly interested in knowing the space, they could join, just that they also have competing
Absolutely.
ideas. Is I guess there's probably not much you could do, but maybe we talk about this as well because we are talking to founders and freelancers, especially founders, where these are the real questions, right? And although they are tough, you have to ask those.
100%. See, the answers on this one might vary from people to people, brand to brand. My personal belief, and something that even most people in the ecosystem feel, is that competition is inevitable, right? If you are building something valuable, then the competitors will watch you anyway through your website, through events. Like if you're talking at an event, you're doing like a demo, competition might be there, right? A WhatsApp group just kind of makes it visible, yes. But look at it this way, right? It's not about it's about trust. It's not about secrecy, because the real value is not like what you announce. It's in the relationship, the support, and kind of the shared culture. And a competitor can't copy trust or advocacy, right? Like it can capture a concept, but it cannot copy paste faith of 100 people in a channel, conversations that they're having themselves. If only they will just come in, be flattered, and go. And they'll go to their respective teams and be like, what a great job they're doing. you know and if you look at it from the founder's perspective, there would be another question, is that what if our customer gets poached or something? See, customers will spot that difference, right? Because if a competitor tries to lurk or pitch or tries to change this thing, that's why you are, if you're chasing buzz metrics, then yeah, maybe. But if you're not chasing, if you that's why you're chasing quality, right? Because then members will self-regulate. They will understand, oh, this is what's happening. Okay, okay. So it's just practical. Yeah, of course, it's important to have community guidelines in place, no unsolicited pitching and stuff like that. But I just look at it, yeah, people coming from the competition, I think they're coming for the value, they're coming for the engagement because these are their peers as well. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah.
Talking about community guidelines, but I guess the important thing is to define those early on,
Yeah.
so that the values that we uphold, the ethics that we want to kind of maintain in this community, and then the standards that we want to maintain as well. All those are set at the beginning or early stage at least. I mean, you might not have everything on day one because it's still building, but it
Yeah.
can't be like after a year or two, right? Because then people have gotten used to a certain way of operating within that community, and then
Yes.
something is imposed, right? So, but if it was set early on, then that also sets the tone.
Yeah, yeah. It's very important to do a little bit of like a pulse check over there. And it's important to highlight, like, see, respect is something that is, earned. I get it. But like when you're in a new group, people don't know the rules, they act a little bit. But with consistency, when you highlight, when you show, when you stand for it, and when you stay on topic, and you help over building hype, right? This kind of builds a little bit of trust. And then when it's replicated after a point of time, they see that you are a trusted voice, you are inclusive, you have, of course, you stay on topic and you help, then eventually this kind of weeds itself out, I would
Right.
say. But
Right.
it's, of course, important to have a code of conduct guidelines always placed
Right.
at the event.
Right. Even if you forget the question of competitors, Beda,
Hmm.
one relevant question could be when to start, right? If you think of an early stage startup, is this something that we need before the product, the MVP is available, or is it after that you have an MVP, you want to get some feedback about the product, or is it when the product is ready to launch, you want the first um, few evangelists, if you like, those who really love this kind of product. In the life cycle of a startup, when do you usually think is the right point to introduce communities or engage communities in that sense? Or is it a difficult question that it really depends on the type of startup and type of product?
I would suggest it depends on the thought process and mindset of the decision maker. Uh,
Right.
I'll tell you why, right? Um, if you look at any other industry as well, you look at a fashion industry, right? If somebody is launching a particular label, they do a lot of research, they do like a taste check, mood board check, and they see if there's a demand. If you look at a tech industry, there is, of course, there is the major products, but there is also like certain small problem solvers, right? Sometimes these founders are a part of large communities way before they even have the idea to have a company. In fact, there are founders who attend like community meetups, and that's how they have gotten ideas for companies, right? So, ideally, my suggestion would be community efforts can definitely start as much, much before the MVP, right? It's basically a small group of potential users pre-engaged that can help validate the problem, give feedback, not just on prototype, but give feedback on the ecosystem as a whole, and thus refine your positioning to a stage. So if somebody is forward thinking in that model, they will create an ecosystem not even by talking about their product. They just take a pain point and they'll solve the pain point, start a discussion around it, and then grow it. And after that, when they launched an MVP, they already have like a list of prospects targeted, right? That's a proactive one. But I would also say that reactive strategy is also possible. It's completely possible, right? Um, you are a company, you have grown to a particular stage. After that stage, you're trying to figure out what are some of the areas where I can add support. What are the new products that I can build that is based on my core competency, my value proposition, but it will give me a revenue line. So you start with a community and you start seeing that, hey, I'm using this product. And then people will start saying, you know what, it would have been great if this was possible on this platform. It would have been great if these products were all together at one particular point, right? And I want to share an example here. Let me just quickly pull that up.
Sure.
But so, so, yeah. So this kind of a thought, right? Putting things together is also something that helped DigitalOcean build new features and stuff, right? So here is a link to something called as CStack, cstack.dev. So essentially, DigitalOcean CStack, it's a series of open source starter kits and reference app from DigitalOcean, right? Here is the link. And if you see this, like based off of this conversation, if you look at this, you will immediately understand that this is an output of developer advocacy and community because you can see the value proposition over here. The value proposition itself comes from feedback. So people don't know that they can have these particular resources. And the next question is, can I have all of them together in one place and can I have it on DigitalOcean, right? So this is like a perfect example of how feedback led to certain growth in products, identifying new areas and create a new product bundling that is now, doing wonders. So I just wanted to share the link for users to see it, not in detail. Of course, if you want like a detailed session on this, I can of course speak to the respective experts on this one. But yeah, this is just an example of an outcome, and people can really use it. It's very simple to use because it was developed through feedback. Sorry, yes, As, you're on mute, I think.
Yeah, the link is getcstack.dev,
Yes.
GETCSEA, and stack, STACK dot dev. I actually tried to share the screen, but I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah,
the
it
audience.
was sharing.
It
It
was
was,
on?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, right. Okay. One of the questions I was going to ask, I think you um, shared your experience in that sense, how Wavemaker actually has contributed towards digital ocean in that sense, like in terms of product feedback, in terms of product ideas, how to fill gaps in the market.
Yeah,
I know you touched a bit, but maybe we
yeah,
talk a bit because that makes this real,
absolutely.
right? Like how did this actually complete the loop?
Absolutely. So, Wavemaker program is something that we launched last year in November when we identified, as an organization, we are always forward looking. We are always seeing that what is somebody going to build 6 months from now? What digital native enterprise is going to take the cake? What company is going to become AI native in the future? And keeping that in mind, we decided that, hey, you know what, we need a channel of organic grassroots level developer engagement where we can not just get this feedback, but we can learn as well. Right. And that's how the Wavemaker program is born. Right now, globally, the Wavemaker program has 17,000 members. And that is distributed across 27 chapters across the globe. Some of our most successful chapters are the New York chapter, the Hyderabad chapter, the Bangalore chapter, and quite a few more of them. And it is scaling by the day. Like we are almost like at a place where we are adding 300 to 500 members almost every month. And we have 15 to 16 wave makers already active with more coming up. And these are not early developers, these are like really senior developers who are being interested because, like I said, real engagement over buzz, and that always attracts pure talent.
Right. I guess a good point to discuss the future as well, but I guess a lot of things are changing in tech anyway, and that's a given. How do you see this community-led growth evolving in the future? Maybe you can also add a bit of an AI conversation. AI seems to be in every conversation these days. Do you see AI playing a role in community-driven growth? But I guess there are two different questions. So I would like you to touch on the AI part, where whether AI would play a role in shaping up the future of community-driven growth, and then separately, much more broadly, what are your views being in this space for a long time? How would these communities grow in the future and influence companies and the tech industry positively?
100%. And that's a really good question. I keep thinking about this. I keep talking about this to a lot of people. I genuinely believe that community is going to be so much more critical in the age of AI, right? See, AI gives us efficiency, it gives us automation, but it does not give trust and belonging. You can't automate trust. You can't automate belonging, right? So when you are looking at community, it is essentially going to be the human layer on top of all the tech noise, right? For example, anyone can get answers from ChatGPT, like you look at this thing, right? But people still join dev forums, right? People still join ambassadorship programs with tech companies. You look at, there's a beautiful group by the company Figma. It's called Friends of Figma. If you look at their community, it is so beautiful. It is like just a hotbed of creation. People are talking about new stuff, and this is not something that got built overnight. This has been inbuilt for ages, and it's just kind of a testament to what the power of community can truly make something for the future. And similarly, the Wavemaker program, we've come really far. Like we've grown from 10,000 to 17,000 just in a matter of like 7-8 months, right? Which clearly highlights a particular need. So that's one part of it. Second is that I genuinely feel that AI will make communities smarter, not replace them to an extent. Because while AI can handle moderation, summarization, connecting different threads with similar needs, community is the creation point of it, right? Uh, to give like a small example, yes, ChatGPT can give you answers, but the benefit goes to the one asking the right questions, right? And that in itself is where the community kind of comes into play. And the last thing I would like to end with is that communities are also a section for co-creation, right? So AI is rapidly going to increase co-creation by a lot, which means that the community-led output, the output of the forum, the output of the platform is going to like grow tenfold to an extent.
And I think the example you took, Friends of Figma, I'm not on it, but
Yeah,
when I work with designers,
yeah.
UI, UX designers, conversations, they mention this and they love that community. And I think that also creates a connection between the community, the user, and the product, right? Because they feel the product in a very different way. There's an emotion involved in that connection.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are doing so of course DigitalOcean also is the founder of Hacktoberfest, right? Hacktoberfest is a global program. It's a celebration of open source, a month-long
Mm,
celebration.
mm,
And this year it's going to be even bigger. We have quite a few partners on board already. But if you see, this particular initiative was started 12 years ago, right? We are at the 12th edition of Hacktoberfest, and it's been a significant investment, but it's an engagement that brings like hundreds of thousands of developers together in the world, right? And this in itself, like a lot of questions kind of get self-answered. Yeah, will AI contribute to it? But it can't take it away because this engagement is very real, right? The community conversations, you could not stop it if you wanted to, right? Like it's reached a level where if somebody wanted to stop it, you wouldn't be able to stop it. Like that's the level at which it is, right? And that's kind of the goal, isn't it? Like to be at that particular level.
I know a community. I wouldn't probably mention the name, but they
Yeah.
were on one platform, a certain community, and then they felt the community, the platform was restricting in certain ways,
Yeah.
and they re-emerged on a different new platform. The platform also was built almost for that purpose. Obviously, they have now allowed other communities to come in, but
Right.
that community didn't accept uh, the level of service on that platform, right? And a natural death was not what they wanted. They wanted to re-emerge because they had grown to a solid level. They were
Yeah.
connected very well between each other, and they wanted a continuation. And they found a place elsewhere, right? So and that shows. Power of communities, right? Even if say the founder, the company that's founded the community wanted to stop, as you said, the community doesn't want it to be stopped, right? They want to kind of exist and
Kind of
continue
becomes an asset
some
after
exactly,
that. Yeah, it
exactly.
becomes an asset after that.
Yes, and I'm on a few communities, but these are mostly WhatsApp communities. But I see how useful sometimes they are, how engaged, and how caring some of those are. At the same time, there are certain communities that I'm on that I don't feel the same connection as well, and it might not be a fault of the community, but it might be your own intent, right? Like this doesn't really relate that well. So I guess it's also about picking the right community that works for yourself. I guess going back to our initial conversations, like you get the right people, and also
Yeah.
as individuals, we pick the right places to go.
Also, one thing I want to highlight is that a benefit, like we looked at it from a perspective of startups or founders starting communities, right? Let's also talk for a minute about you being a part of a community.
Right.
Like, as a part of a community, you get access to things which other people don't know about. For
Yeah.
example, I know, like, we have promoted this to an extent, but how many people get to know that if you are a part of Doer Circle for free, you get $5,000 from DigitalOcean, right? As a
Mm.
part of like our partnership and our program. And this is something like if somebody is there in this particular session, they will just get to know just by being there, right?
Mm.
And then what happens is that this is $5,000 is a significant amount. If somebody gets that benefit, they will be like, okay, you know what? I got this. Where did you get this? I'm not getting it. Yeah, I went for this webinar and they gave it a, oh, wow, I didn't know that this is there. And there you have a conversation that starts, the conversation of
Right.
real value, right?
Right.
People come in and they'll be like, you know what, just register over here, you'll get it. I didn't know about this. How did you know about it? Through community. What is AI gonna do about that?
Right. Thank you very much. I guess that's a good way to end the conversation as well, where I mean, we spoke about the bit of a theoretical side of communities and practical side of it, examples, future, and a very real example also at the end, how community could just benefit by being part of community conversation like this one as well, right? So thank you very much, Beda, for your insights, your sharing, and I always like the humbleness you bring to a conversation like this, or even one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
You're always someone that I really love having a chat, and thank you so much for doing this for our community, and this is our contribution to our community, right? Like we work with experts like you, thought leaders, experienced professionals, founders, freelancers who know this stuff and who are really hands-on as well, right? Of course, we bring in thought leaders at times, but we also don't want to do stuff that are really up in the air and
Yeah, yeah, it's
too
important.
visionary at times. Yes, you have to be visionary, but it has to be hands-on, right? Our founders, our freelancers should be able to implement things that we discuss in these sessions. So thank you very much for sharing in a very practical way and your real experiences. So also thanks to everyone who joined. This session will go online on our YouTube channel, Do a Circles YouTube channel in the next couple of days. And then we will also meet next week on Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Singapore time or 2 p.m. India time on Wednesday. And again on Thursday next week, 4:30 p.m. Singapore time or 2 p.m. India time with similar conversations on different ways as to how we can do better as doers, independent doers together.
Absolutely,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you so much, Yasas, for having me. And really appreciate this initiative. Maybe we can collaborate on more initiatives together.
Sure, we will for sure. All right, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.